Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Should I Watch? On this episode, we'll be taking a look at A Whisker Away, an anime film which was recently released on Netflix, best summarized as a coming-of-age story. Whisker Away was produced by Studio Colorado, a studio primarily focused on film. Whisker Away being the first I've ever heard or seen from them actually. In addition, Toho, a company focused more on distribution. Toho has been working for nearly a century. Almost all anime films flow through them, such as Wolf Children or Your Name. Finally, Twin Engine Studios acting as a planning and production company. Only work I've seen from Twin Engine is Vinland Saga. Aside from that, they're just another unknown to me. With all those introductions taken care of, does Whisker Away deserve your full attention, or should it just be tossed away into the litter box? Find that out and more on this episode of Should I Watch? A Whisker Away. A Whisker Away follows two central figures throughout the entire film. Initially, we're behind Mio, a very upbeat, bubbly girl with an attitude. Much like a shield, she uses her personality to block how she's really feeling at any given moment. Our other figure being Kento, an equally young, quiet, stern, intelligent boy who Mio is just absolutely head over heels for. While, on the inverse, Kento himself won't give her any time of day. Both of our protagonists are supported by who I assume to be their best friends. I'm honestly unsure. Kaor for Mio and Tomoya for Kento. Besides a flashback for Kaoru, neither of them get any fleshing out. The initial antagonist for Mio is actually her parents. Her mother actually abandoned her and her father when she was still very young, causing Mio to get bullied quite often at school. This bullying builds resentment towards her soon-to-be stepmother and her father, who she currently lives with. While Keno struggles more with internal problems, such as being true to himself and firm on which direction he wants to take with his life. Most other characters throughout the film are just oddly placed, such as two bullies at school, which I initially thought to have a crush on Mio, but they just ended up being shallow, useless characters. Their only real purpose is to bully Mio, causing the film to proceed into Act 2. There's Kento's family. His mom is super strict and old-fashioned, who is assuming Kento will take care of the entire family once he gets older. Other members of his family include his sister, a character that actually has no purpose whatsoever in this entire film, making me wish they just cut her entirely. She is on screen for a few minutes at most, but those minutes definitely could have been used to fill out the ending so much better, but we'll get to that. The last member of Keno's family is his grandfather, a struggling pot maker and Keno's role model throughout the entire film. This adds a struggle to Kento where he is deciding if he wants to follow his dreams and follow the footsteps of his grandfather, or if he should follow his mother's idea, wishing for him to just focus completely and entirely on school. Coming with Grandpa is a worker who makes pottery with him, another useless part of the whole story. Him and the sister just shouldn't have been here. It's my firm belief that if a character does nothing useful to progress the story in any way, they should just be cut entirely from the film. They're just taking up precious moments and time that could be spent better developing our main characters or fleshing out the side characters in any little way they possibly can. What we're left with, though, is just two eyesores that shouldn't be here at all. Great news, however, both Mio and Kento are enjoyable characters who feel organically placed in this crazy world that at first glance seems normal to everyone. Except for the cats. Yeah, you heard me correct. I said cats right there, because this wouldn't be anime if crazy shit wasn't afoot at all times. The gimmick in A Whisker Away hides in the title, Whisker. Right in the beginning of the film, Mio is at a festival with her biological mother. They have a fight of some sorts, and Mio runs wishing she could be someone. Or something different entirely. This is where the mask seller appears. A giant, obese cat that talks. He offers Mio exactly what she wants. The ability to turn into something else. In this case, it's gonna be a cat. But not like the cat girls most weebs may think about. This is just a normal house cat. During Mio's first transformation is how her love for Kento actually begins. They run into each other running away from their actual problems, and they bond, but Mio's a cat obviously. So the feelings Mio gains from this experience aren't shared between the two. Thankfully, Mio can return to human form at any time by doing a somersault. Why a somersault? Who knows? A Whisker Away does this so many times, giving us some obscure bit of information, never to really elaborate on it. The road paved by Whisker Away is full of so many potholes, constantly making me think, what am I watching? Let's save that discussion for a little bit later. Don't dismiss the rest of the story, which begins as a love story. Mio is trying to win over Kento in any way she possibly can. Using her cat form, she visits him every single night in hopes of learning about his dreams, what makes him happy or sad. With this knowledge, she hopes to turn her own dreams of love into reality. But instead, these ideas form a whirlwind in Mio's mind, causing her more grief and uncertainty, to act rash if people talk badly about Keno in any way. While Keno treats Cat Mio, who he calls Taro, with so much love and affection that she just desperately wants that so badly in human form. Eventually, this causes friction between the two kids, making Mio desire to only be a cat, the one who Kento loves after all. This is where the aforementioned bullies come into play, to give Mio that final push she needs to accept the shady deal of the mask seller, the true antagonist of the film after all. The second act and climax I'll save for you if you do decide to watch A Whisker Away. Moving forward, A Whisker Away's animation quality is standard for most anime films. The quality reminds me more of A Silent Voice or Wolf Children, just a bit better, falling short of films such as Your Name or a Ghibli's film level of detail. But don't take that as a negative. Being standard is great after all. For example, I really enjoyed the Cat City and how all the adorable residents looked. Gave a real Totoro vibe from each of them, especially the mask seller. The human characters, on the other hand, look like normal kids, I suppose. Nothing really stands out about them. The cats got all the love in this film, but man, they've really made the mask seller creepy, like a man you don't want to meet in a dark alleyway. His design and personality are the highlight of the film to me. The sound design, on the other hand, is just boring. The soundtrack is not memorable in any way. It's subtle. I don't remember any music at all for the film, which does make me enjoy it quite a bit less. Music generally sparks emotion while I'm watching a film, helping me emphasize with the characters and understand what kind of message the film wants to impart on me, none of which was caught by me during this film. I'm just going to be frank with you here, then return to criticizing this film. I don't think you should watch A Whisker Away. If you are short on time or if you just don't have Netflix, basically, there are much better films or shows to just watch. You could put this one super far on the back burner until you run out of much better films to watch. I felt no emotional investment throughout the entire film. Dialogues between characters more often than not just come across as awkward, causing my thoughts to flutter off to somewhere else instead of focusing just on the film. Just pass on this film. There is one scene in particular that I constantly think about ever since watching the movie. It makes me think, why is this here? After a dramatic scene for Mio, she runs away somewhere, followed by her friend Kaburu, which I'll never pronounce that name correctly. The scene cuts to them somewhere else, where Kaburu is crying instead of Mio for some unknown reason. Mio even states during the scene something along the lines of, "Why are you crying when my feelings are hurt?" Which made me think, they will add some development for Kaburu's character, but instead nothing really comes of it, which summarizes completely how I feel about the film. Nothing really comes from it. The only thing I felt after watching A Whisker Away was disappointment, with a few sparkles of potential that weren't utilized correctly, such as the premise. Much like the mask Mio wears to turn into a cat, A Whisker Away hides its actual meaning behind the story. Initially coming across as a storytelling of two middle schoolers falling in love, which, let's just be frank, that is so batshit crazy that will never really happen in the real world, so that's already a disconnect from me. Just you grow up so much during your formative years, such as high school and going on to college, that love, I don't think, can really prosper that well in your super young age. The premise I'd like to think it's trying to tell is more about youth coming in terms with who they are, accepting and embracing their findings, which path they will take in their individual futures. A nice idea, but execution is all that matters, and it is executed poorly. What we got was a boring climax, and instead of an extra 10 minutes to tie up loose ends and show us how our protagonists have developed and what they have learned during this fairy tale-like journey, we instead get a credit scene that hardly shows any improvement for what they have learned, leaving one final bitter taste in my mouth. Don't spend your time on Whisker Away. Watch any other film on Netflix, such as A Silent Voice or even Fireworks. Both films are so much more enjoyable. With that, I'm done. Have a great rest of your day and see you next time.